Hey guys, welcome to this week's training. I decided to go ahead and do one on a Tuesday, so that I can see how it goes with you guys. And we are going to look at the art. Tuesday. Oh, whoa. Hang on. So that I can see. I don't want to hear myself. So I can see how you guys like it. So I'm going to do a slideshow, if I can get my stuff to quit falling, on the art of persuasion. And the art of persuasion is a learned skill. It's something that anyone can do. It just takes a little bit of practice and awareness of how you're coming off. It also requires learning the different personality types so that you can speak their language, which I highly recommend. But for today, I'm going to show you my secret weapon that I have learned myself. So let me switch over here to my slideshow. Okay. All right, so again, this is called the art of persuasion. And normally I start off with a joke, but I'm not going to do that tonight because I took these slides from some training I did at the chamber, and I thought, I bet they would really get a kick out of this. And so I always give a joke before I start my chamber training. So here it is, right off the bat. Oh, hang on. Let me do my little switch here. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay, so the art of persuasion, like I said, and I love this background, by the way. I love Elvis. I got to go to Graceland one time whenever I was a teenager with my dad. It was really cool. Okay, so my secret weapon of persuasion is carefully observing and using body language. Oops. Oh, darn it. Hang on, let me get back to the right slide. I went too fast. Okay, so key fact, 93% of communication is nonverbal, okay? So, and what that means is that your client's brain will believe you're nonverbal over your verbal. That's why, like, people that have been in the habit of shaking their head no as they're saying something that they want you to believe, the brain interprets that as they're not being truthful, because why are they shaking their head no as they're saying something that should be a positive, etc., etc. So the brain uses body language to determine trust and also to determine safety and competency. So you want your clients to trust you, and that means you want to make sure that you're not doing any nonverbal or body language that is contrary to what you are saying with your mouth, which people do quite a bit actually. So the first thing is the brain looks for the hands first. So you want to, number one, keep your hands visible. Don't cross, them under your or hide them under crossed arms. Don't put them in your pockets. Don't sit on them. You want people to see your hands. So when I first started, practicing this, because I would always cross my arms, I didn't know what to do with my hands. So, it felt kind of weird just having them hang at the sides, but that's what is suggested, is that you let them hang at the sides, or that you clasp them in front of you as they hang down, which is one of my favorite poses. I would beware of doing the Superman pose, and I can't remember if I get into this later, where you have your hands on your hips, because that is an aggressive stance. It's great to do when you're by yourself because it'll actually boost confidence, but when you're dealing with your clients, you don't want to come off aggressive. And then also, people like people who gesture with their hands more. So obviously that's within reason. You don't want to be all over the place. Like a great example of this, and this is not a political statement, this is just an observation, is Beto O'Rourke. He gestures way too much. His body language is really jacked up, actually. And I'll probably do like a very, very short training and point out a few things about that soon. But anyway, So you do want to gesture, and if you're a more reserved personality, you may not gesture as much, especially those of you that are C personalities. So the brain looks for the hands first. If it sees the hands, it feels safe. If you're hiding, it does not feel safe. The brain then goes to the eyes, and it pretty much remains in the facial area for the remainder of the conversation. Now, a professional gaze is the eyes up, the forehead, like the nose, eyes, and forehead area. When you start watching someone's mouth or go below that, you're now getting into friend or intimate gaze, and you definitely do not want to do that in professional settings. So now remember, with your eye contact though, most people are comfortable and like you at 2/3 of the conversation being that, but you need to gauge that. So if they have a rough time looking at you, or if they're backing away from you, or they start closing off their own body language, then understand that you're making them uncomfortable with too much eye contact. So 2/3 is a safe rule of thumb, but also pay attention to their body language. Next, you need to be aware of and notice what are called micro expressions. Micro expressions are involuntary and they're subconscious, and they occur when people are trying to conceal emotion or they're unaware of how they are feeling. They usually last 1/6 of a second. So I want to go into some of the most popular. Now, if you learn, or the most common, if you learn to spot these, oh my goodness, it will help you so much in your interactions. I can actually see by people's expressions if I need to ask further questions, if I need to give them an opportunity to share any concerns. So they're invaluable in business. And when I say they're universal, people that have been born blind still make the same micro expressions. So remember, it's people trying to conceal emotion or they're unaware of their emotional state, and it's coming out in this micro expression. So you might think, well, why are they trying to conceal their emotions? They just need to be honest. Well, you've got some people that are very diplomatic and tactful, and they're not just going to come out and say what they're thinking. Other people, they're very reserved and analytical, and so they may not feel comfortable sharing either. But I would say most of the time you're probably dealing with an S personality that is trying to be very nice and not hurt your feelings. So the first one is disgust, and this is where the nose wrinkles up and then the upper lip is raised. You might see this especially if you're a creative. So if you are a website designer or a photographer or a designer, like an interior designer, etc., you may notice this if they don't like what you're doing. And again, it only lasts 1/6 of a second. So maybe they don't like the colors, or maybe they don't like how you laid something out, or maybe they don't like where something is placed. And so they'll flash this look. And again, they don't want to tell you, "Ooh, I don't like that," in a rude way. It's just an involuntary reaction that occurs. And then you can be aware of it and ask questions. So don't get offended if someone shoots a look of disgust. That is a great opportunity to say, hey, it looks like there might be some things that you're not sure about on this design or on this website. Do you have any questions or thoughts or anything where you want to make some changes, and let's discuss. So again, don't take it personal. It's just a natural response, but again, they're trying to be polite. They don't want to just straight out and say, oh my gosh, that's the ugliest thing I've seen, or whatever it is. Anger is also very common, and it's surprising how common it is in business, actually. But the eyebrows will draw down and together. The eyes will start to glare, and there'll be a narrowing of the lips. So when you see this, just as a little side note, if you see anger, you want to show the palms of your hands and let them know, hey, it seems like maybe something has upset you. Let's solve it. Let's take care of it together. What's your concern? But when you display your palms, that is a signal to their brain that everything's going to be okay. So look for those flashes of anger, because you may have said something that makes them mad, that made them mad, and so you need to ask questions. Now, some people just let you know that you made them mad, but some will try to conceal it. Surprise, this lasts maybe for a second, It's where the eyebrows raise up, almost like U's. The eyes do widen, and the mouth opens. Fear can look similar, except with fear, the eyebrows draw together. With surprise, the eyebrows look like the U's. I see this one more than any other place in when I give my hourly rate. Thank goodness for the last several times I've given my hourly rate, the surprise look is not that I'm too expensive. They expect me to be more expensive, which is good news. In fact, I gave myself a raise last week because every person I've talked to said you're too inexpensive. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll keep the price the same for you, but for everybody else, I'm going up because I already quoted you. So surprise is really important to look at, number one, or look for. Number one, when you're about to show them your plans, your ideas, your agenda, your design, whatever it is, and then also when you tell them what your fees are. Now, every time I see the surprise look when I give my fees, I will stop and say, hey, you looked a little bit surprised on my hourly rate or on my fee. Can I ask why? And again, a lot of them are like, well, you're too inexpensive. But another part of that is they may be, surprised at how much it is as well. And so if you've got payment plans, that would be the time. Or if you want to negotiate, that would be the time as well. But anyway, so surprise is one I look for sure. Now, the contempt look, I would not do work with anybody that shows contempt. This is where the lip corner tightens and is raised on only one side of the face, and what it's doing is it's concealing hostility, jealousy, and dislike. And I guarantee that if you do business with anybody that shows contempt, then you're going to have a hellacious client, and I would not do work with them at all. In fact, what's interesting is this guy that has studied marriages for decades, he said that he can look through past pictures or current pictures of a couple that are having a rough time, and if he sees any look of contempt, he knows their marriage will not work because it's at the point where there is open hostility or hidden hostility, and that's really hard to fix. So anyway, the other day, I can't remember what I was doing, but I saw, it was this lady and this guy, because I'm a crime show freak, and it was this lady and this guy that were dating, and he was a Texas Ranger, and one morning, he got shot 6 times, and his girlfriend got kidnapped. Well, he survived, which is crazy. Then later, she tried to poison him with rat poisoning, and he survived that. I'm like, dude, man, you might need to sell whatever you've got there. But anyway, they showed a picture of them, and they were in Las Vegas, and I saw the contempt all over her face. And I was like, man, that guy is in trouble. And then what's also interesting about the contempt microexpression is in marriages, when the female gets that look from her husband quite a bit, and it's only for females, she'll have a lower immune system, she'll be more prone to colds and flus, and urinary tract infections. Isn't that crazy? So understand that these microexpressions are powerful signals to the brain that even if you're not aware of them, your client is, and you need to be aware of them so that you can better help and assist and answer questions with your clients. So again, the brain believes body language over what you say, and you need to trust your gut instincts as well. Okay, so the next thing is head activity. So whenever you're talking to people, you need to use head nods. You don't want to nod too fast or you'll seem impatient. Now, if you're needing to turn or end a conversation, then you may need to actually slow down your head nods or stop nodding altogether. That will cause the person to get the signal if they need to quit talking, unless they're completely self-unaware. Then also the head cock, when you're listening, will communicate to your client that you're interested and you're listening to what they're saying. So head nods are really, really good. Okay, so body language don'ts. And I don't know why all my stuff is just automatically, showing up on my slide. It's not supposed to do that, but hey, it saves me some time here. Okay, so the shoulder shrug you do not want to do, including the single shoulder. The shoulder shrug is basically, I don't know, or, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then the single shoulder is like a helpless message, and you don't want your clients to know that you don't know what you're doing, and you definitely don't want your clients to think that you're helpless. The foot tap or twitching, that is a signal to them either that you're lying, because that's one of the main signals, or that you don't want to be there and you want to hurry up and get the whole situation done. Again, folded arms over your chest. A lot of people are doing this now because it's just, we have lazy posture, quite frankly. And so it's a habit. Break that habit, please, because it is a closed body language, and research has shown that you get fewer yeses and more no's when you or your client have arms folded across the front of the body. Again, the Superman pose, that's a very dominant and aggressive pose. Again, doing it alone before a meeting that you're nervous about or an event that you're nervous about for about 2 minutes is a really good idea. It's great for introverts to do because it boosts your testosterone and your confidence, and it also lowers your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And you can also even imagine yourself or picture yourself in the Superman pose, and it does the same thing, which is crazy. Please do not cackle. That is, it's very annoying, and it sounds fake, and then you do not want to fake laugh. So if something's not funny, just smile. And don't fake smile either. Just smile. Appreciate that they're trying to be funny. And then facial tension and the scowl. So sometimes we'll scowl when we're concentrating, but that is a message that comes off that you're angry. And then the facial tension where you're clenching your jaw, that pulse that will sometimes form on the side over by your ear. If you are tense and you can feel it, you need to shake it out. You need to loosen up and smile, listen to an upbeat song, something that will boost your mood, because if you go in with that facial tension, again, they're going to think that you're not safe and that you're angry with them. And then leaning backwards, that does communicate that you're not interested or you're not taking them seriously. However, you can lean back and cross your arms over your chest if you want to communicate that you're not interested in what they have to say. Oh, and by the way, on this picture right here, I almost passed it. See where he's got a wide open stance, his arm is up a little bit, and then his other one's on the table? This is what's called an alpha stance. And so he's communicating that he's powerful. And so a lot of times when people do that in your presence, they're either trying to dominate or they feel very comfortable with you, especially if you're doing it. Women need to make themselves larger. I know that's something we don't want to do, but, sitting more sideways in a chair instead of perpendicular, or is it perpendicular or parallel? It might be parallel. But anyway, you want to make sure that you are, a little bit angled, I guess you would say, in your chair. Besides, you don't even ever want to be right across from somebody in seating anyway, because it's an alpha position, and you don't want to put your client at an uncomfortable situation where only one of us can be the alpha. Like, it's just, all this stuff is natural in how the brain thinks. So you usually want to be like diagonal to them or at a round table, unless you want to negotiate and be tough. But notice how that lady in the background also has herself angled. That's good, because, I think us women have made a lot of progress when it comes to being taken seriously, but we're still smaller in stature typically than men. And so it just helps us with having presence in the room. Now, how to know if you've established rapport? First of all, they'll mirror your body language. So I'm sure you've seen people that are in a really, intense, good conversation. They're both gesturing. They are both, nodding their head, smiling at each other. They're even setting in similar fashion. That is a sign that you've established rapport. The hair toss or flip with eye contact also means they like you. Now, if they do the hair toss and flip without the eye contact, they're letting you know that they're not too interested in what you have to say. Leaning forward, open body language, they shift their body towards you, eye contact, and then what is called the cup dance. So think back to the last time that you were at a restaurant and you're with friends and you're wanting to talk and really get, deep into the conversation. What do? You move your drink and everything over to the side. If there's like any centerpiece is too tall and it's getting in your way, you move it over. And so the cup dance is a sign that, hey, we're friends and we don't want anything to block our conversation. Now, nervous cues are a sign that you might be losing your sell, and you need to use them as an opportunity to ask questions. So there's 6 dominant nervous cues. One is wringing of the hands, although some people do that out of habit. Suprasternal notch touching, that's the area where you've got that little notch between your shoulder blades right underneath your chin. A lot of times that's where ladies' necklaces, and even men's necklaces, will hang down to, and people start playing with their necklace or touching that notch. That is definitely a nervous cue. Cracking the knuckles, rubbing the arms, biting the lips, and then what I call the shame cue. So you can see this man, and he's got his, I've got a low battery message, I better hurry, where he's got his hand on his forehead. That is usually seen in the price point, and it's basically they want to buy your product or service, but they can't, so they're feeling embarrassed. Also, make sure you unclench your fists, show your hands, smile often, use those head tilts, and display empathy, interest, and admiration. Avoid sarcasm, criticism, defensiveness, disrespect, superiority, and withdrawal. Do not put your feet under a chair or ankle lock, which I do that quite a bit, but the brain interprets that as hiding something or that you want to run away. Don't jiggle, fidget, drum or tap, don't cross your arms, and then do not push a cell at a meal, because when you do, all their blood is in their gut trying to process food, and so they can't think or make decisions well. All right, so let me switch over here and get back to my face. Okay, so anyway, I hope those things help you. Sorry about the rough start, but just doing a few of those things. And probably what I'll do when I get done is I'll go ahead and upload the worksheets for you so that you can go over them and have them. But this will be this week's training. And so no training on Friday. And please let me know, do you like the Friday morning training, or do you like the Tuesday evening training, or does it even matter? I need some feedback. So anyway, I hope you have a good night, and thanks for joining me.